This is the Debt Payoff Planner from Pennies Not Perfection. It is something I designed for myself while I was paying off over $40,000 in debt, and it has been very helpful for me personally. The first thing we have is the debt snowball list. So on this page, you list all of your debts, you give them a priority, the balance, the rate, the minimum due, and when you're paid off, you can write that date or cross it off. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but basically on this list, you list all your debts from the smallest to the largest, and then you just work your way down, cross them off, pay them off, and move on down. So you pay the minimum due on all of them except the one you're attacking at the top, and then work your way down. There are instructions on how to do this down at the bottom in case you need to know. And then the next page is if you do the debt avalanche method. So this method is a little bit different. Basically, you list them from the highest interest rate. So if you have a debt that is 25% on a credit card, that would be number one. That would be first. You would attack that with the most money and then pay minimums on everything else. So you would list it from the highest rate to the lowest rate. And again, there are instructions on how to do this on the bottom so you can know what to do when you're doing the debt avalanche method. Then this is just a tracker. So you can list your debts based on how you have them prioritized, whether you're doing the snowball or the avalanche, you just take the priority and you list them here. And then each one of these is 10%. So once you get 10%, you color it in. And then that just gives you a nice little list of your debts that you can color in and track visually. Then here is a debt overview. This is really helpful if you are trying to get organized. You can write what the debt is, who it's owed to, which can take some work if you have things that are on your credit report and you don't remember, you haven't been paying, and then APR, what rate you have to pay on that debt, the minimum due, and the balance. This is really helpful if you are just writing everything out for the first time. You just write it over here and then you go back to your list to organize it and then prioritize it. So that is just something that you can use to overview your debt and then work on which method you want to do. This is a debt payment tracker. So you would just write your debts and the due dates, and then also the amount due and what you paid, and then the balance. You could do one of these every single month so that you have a list of all of the debts that you owe and what you paid and the balance. This is really helpful to keep track of, just so you know what you're doing and you can see the progress month to month. This is very similar. It's just a smaller one, and each debt has its own little section. So you could do, if you have 4 debts, you could do one of these, or if you have 8, you would do 2 sheets, and you just list the debt, the minimum payment, your starting balance, and then every time you make a payment, you can track the balance, what you paid, and the balance here. So you can see them dropping down as you go. This is similar to the debt priority tracker. It's just a debt payoff tracker. Again, these are 10 each. So you do 10%, you just have the debt and the amount, and then divide it by 10. And every time you have a fully paid off 10%, you move on. This one is the same kind of tracker. I do love trackers so much. So of course I have several in here. So this one shows the 100%, 90%, 80%, and then when you're done, the last 10%, you color that in and you are done. This is a yearly debt payoff tracker. I actually have mine handy that I did for my 2020 debt payoff. So as you can see, I did a debt payoff for the year of 2020. And I actually refinanced my debt in May, and then I paid a little bit in that month. But then at the end of the year, I was paying a lot in December. So this is kind of just like giving me an overview of my debt. If you're doing something that is going to take you multiple years to pay off, these can be really helpful and motivating because you can see everything you've done in a year. And maybe you paid $200 in 1 month because that's all you could do, and it didn't feel like much, but then you can see over the year all of your progress. So this one and the next one, these are basically the same. One has 25 icons and then one has 100 icons, and you just write the total and then divide it by either 25 or 100. So each icon is a certain amount. And then when you pay off that amount, you color it in. This is printed, but you can also use this on an iPad. I definitely used my iPad in GoodNotes to do this, and you can get this at shop.penniesnotperfection.com.